Welcome back. Donald Trump has marched back to the White House, and we have Gauri Divedik, who continues to be with us. Gauri, you are in Washington, D.C. Earlier, we had seen some barricading being put up outside multiple government establishments. What's the scene like right now? And also, why hasn't Kamala Harris been a sport enough in conceding defeat?
Hi, Maria. Very good morning from DC. We were actually inside the garden at Lincoln Memorial, and we were asked to, in fact, vacate because there's a lot of movement of Secret Service that is taking place in this half-a-kilometer radius. This town is still blue till the 19th of January. It turns completely red on the 20th. But till then, there was expectation that Kamala Harris would, in fact, come out and at least speak to her supporters who really put their heart and soul in a campaign which was just 100 days old. They put aside so many considerations that she did not win primaries. She was not a candidate who was chosen up through the ranks, but rather a parachute candidate who came upon the entire setup much late. But they left all those considerations aside, and they were hoping to get that one last word from their leader. Hasn't happened, but who knows, during the course of the day here, she may come out and reach out to her support base because she's quite young. She may not like to give up her political ambitions anytime soon. It could just be we are waiting for her time. As of now, of course, this town's red. It belongs to Donald Trump. The next 4 years is his, even as he's gone on to make history on 2 occasions. The first president in over a century to come back to power with a 4-year gap, and the second and probably the oldest president to be sworn in. So to that extent,
right.
An old man being embraced by all the youngsters in America. Maria.
That's right. 78-year-old Donald Trump has marched back to the White House. And Kamala Harris and Democrats are dealing with stunning defeat across America. Polls had predicted a much tighter race, but it proved to be otherwise. The polls had largely predicted a narrow Kamala Harris victory in the popular vote, with varying predictions on whether Harris or Trump would win the Electoral College. Instead, Donald Trump has a comfortable victory in both the popular vote and the Electoral College. Once again, it appears that the pollsters underestimated Donald Trump. He won the popular vote, in fact, surpassing his own 2016 performance when he fell short in this metric. The economic forecast was a narrow victory for Kamala Harris. In fact, British polling firm JL Partners had emerged as one of the most bullish in favor of Trump with their projection of around 287 Electoral College votes. But the question is, why are the pollsters world over? Remember, we faced also in India during the Lok Sabha polls and now the US elections. Why are they getting the elections so horribly wrong? Joining me on the show is Dhruva Jaishankar, Executive Director of ORF America. We also have Congressman Thanedar, and we have Daniel Block, contributing editor, Washington Monthly. We'll be continuing a conversation with them in just a bit. But first up, let's listen in to what Donald Trump said.
But it's a political victory that our country has never seen before, nothing like this. I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president. And every citizen, I will fight for you, for your family, and your future. Every single day, I will be fighting for you, and with every breath in my body, I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe, and prosperous America that our children deserve and that you deserve. This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have. Our friends, we have thousands of friends on this incredible movement. This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. And frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country, and maybe beyond. And now it's going to reach a new level of importance because we're going to help our country heal. We're going to help our country heal. We have a country and it needs help very badly. We're going to fix our borders. We're going to fix everything about our country. And we made history for a reason tonight, and the reason is going to be just that. We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy?
Congressman Thanedar, beginning with you. He was the president who was rejected 4 years ago, and he has made a comeback with a far bigger margin. He has not only won the Electoral College, but also the popular vote.
That's right.
If you heard me.
That's right. And yeah. So look, people are hurting. The cost of living has gone up. $100 today doesn't buy the same groceries, gasoline, as it did 4 years ago. And people have voted on the kitchen table issues. People feel that the migration that's happening at America's borders is not acceptable. So Donald Trump had 3 issues. It's the economy, 2, the immigration, the migration at America's borders, and number 3, all the wars that are going on in the world, whether it is the Israel-Hamas war or whether the Ukraine. And he has picked up the 3 issues that are most important for the people. And people have voted. People's judgment is that Donald Trump, not only they agree with the 3 issues he has raised, but that they feel he is the best suitable to solve those problems. And that is what this whole verdict means.
Congressman Thanedar, you are from Michigan. You represent Detroit, sir. And Michigan is where many felt that the war in Gaza took a major impact on Harris's chances. How do you see that? You've been talking to your constituents. It has a very large Arab American population, and irony of ironies, they all backed Donald Trump, the man who many felt 4 years back was behind what many thought was a very racist ban targeting Muslim countries. How do you read this change that took place on ground? You've been talking to your constituents. What is it that they pinpointed this to?
I think it's the economy. It's the economy across the board. People are feeling the prices, the inflation, and people felt that Kamala Harris, who was part of the Biden administration, felt that they held Kamala and Biden responsible for the economic conditions of today, and they believe that Donald Trump can solve the economic problems. Yes, the Gaza issues did play in the role. Yes, the Muslim American vote, the Arab American vote also was instrumental, but it was beyond just the Gaza issues. It was beyond just the Palestinian issues. What really made Donald Trump president again is because people perceive he has the ability to deal with the economic issues. Now, the surveys are telling us 50% of the people today feel that they are worse off. Economically, they are worse off than 4 years ago.
Okay.
And that issue is only addressed. And when Kamala Harris was asked, what will she do differently than Joe Biden? And she said, I can't think of anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that answer that Trump played over and over again, you know, so if the situation is bad, if you think about an average voter, if the situations are bad, he is not able to buy the groceries in the same way as he was 4 years ago. And Kamala Harris is saying she's going to do nothing different.
Okay. So, Daniel, come in on this. You know, I've been going through some articles which have been written on a number of websites, and they say that Donald Trump's return to Washington is a product of his chance. You know, they're emphasizing a lot on chance rather than calculation, or many would say intuitive political skills and also his ability to pick on and respond to voter sentiments much better. Do you think that perhaps made pollsters get it wrong? They do not understand the personality feature of Donald Trump, and this election has been very much personality-centric.
So I'll say two things. The first is that the pollsters got it less wrong this time than they did in the past. So when pollsters were modeling and talking about election outcomes, this was something that many people thought was in the realm of possibility. You only needed the polls to be slightly off in Trump's favor in order to get an outcome like this. Many pollsters, actually, there were some pollsters who predicted outcomes along these lines. So this is not the same dramatic polling miss that we saw in 2020 or in 2016. So they were better. You're right, the averages still appear to have been a little bit off in favor of Harris. Again, we'll need to know more. We'll need to see what the final tallies are. But it's not the same dramatic miss. And as for Trump's charm, I actually think that Trump's character traits probably made him run less well than, say, a generic Republican would. I mean, if we look around the world, we see incumbents getting tossed out of power, losing their parliamentary majorities. Obviously, that happened recently in India with the BJP. Trump is a uniquely polarizing figure in some ways in American politics. He's what we call a high floor, low ceiling candidate. So he has a lot of devoted supporters who love him, but also a lot of people who really hate him. My personal sense is there's a good chance that if you ran somebody like Nikki Haley, the former governor of South Carolina and former UN ambassador, who's embraced less polarizing rhetoric, who's not seen by a lot of Americans as a threat to democracy, her numbers would have been even higher. She would have run up the table even more. It's possible she would have maybe put some safely blue states into play. Yes, sorry, go ahead.
Daniel, there's one thing I want to ask. Sure, yes, Nikki Haley would have probably done, her chances could have been even better. But one thing I wanted to ask you is that how significant is the fact that Donald Trump also won a popular vote, something that even George Bush was not able to do that, and he did not do it the last time around. So to that extent, do you think he's now become this really tall figure as far as Republican Party is concerned? The fact that he won the popular vote fair and square, that many in the past actually used that as a big critique when it came to him.
So I think it is a big deal. I mean, it's not a big deal in that he would have become president either way, but I think it is significant. And the Bush comparison is interesting because George Bush, like Trump, lost the popular vote his first time and then won it later on, in Bush's case during his re-election campaign and in Trump's case during his return to power campaign. I agree with you, it's significant. And the reason I think that it's significant is that for Americans, after Trump won the first time around, there was a tendency for Trump's opponents to say this was an aberration, this was a product of the Electoral College, this was not something that reflected what Americans actually wanted. And the fact that he lost the popular vote was kind of proof of that. This time it's going to be a lot harder to make that argument because he's going to win the popular vote, he's going to win a plurality. And so it's a situation where the two line up. And so I think Trump opponents are really going to have to think about that and think about what it says about the United States,
so
think about what it says about their campaign.
Given how divided America is at the moment, and also the fact is that he has won with a 51% popular vote, so that's significantly high and a significant achievement on part of Donald Trump. But he, on one hand, you had a campaign which spoke about, there is a need to heal America. Today, he also spoke about the need to heal in his victory speech. Do you think we'll be seeing a new Donald Trump, or it will be more of a same?
I think he has gotten the mandate. His speech yesterday was as more conciliatory, offering more working together. So I think he's got his revenge. He went back because he felt persecuted because of the lawsuits. He felt attacked, and now with this vote, winning the popular vote was a special achievement for him. Hopefully, with this win, this mandate, he will be also winning the Senate. The U.S. Senate now will be in the Republican control. So with all of that power, all of that shift, and I would certainly call this a mandate, with this mandate, I think he would be more bigger man and focus more on getting and delivering the things that people need, delivering the economy that the people need, the safety,
I was coming to
security,
just that,
and
Congressman.
safety.
I was coming to just that, Congressman, which is that will Donald
Please.
Trump have an easy way in terms of passing legislation, given the fact that he'll have a Senate under control and he'll also have a Supreme Court that's favoring the Republicans? Do you think he'll have an easy way in terms of passing those very contentious legislations and promises that he made during his campaign?
Yes, I think he does have the Senate, he does have the Supreme Court, he does have the presidency, and now he has a mandate. House is still up for grabs. We don't know yet what will happen to the U.S. Congress, but it is possible that Republicans could also win control of the House. Now, if that happens, he will have control of all three branches, and that would allow him to do what he needs to do. The question really is he going to take care of the average person, the person on the street who is hurting, or is he going to give those billionaires, the rich people, Elon Musk, and people like that, the benefit and the tax breaks? That remains to be seen. How much of a loyalty does he have to the very people who are struggling, who are hurting all across America? How will he deliver what they need to get?
Yes, and he did talk about economy and the need to make economy great again during his victory speech. So he understood that the bread and butter issues were perhaps one of the driving forces behind his emphatic and convincing victory. So, Congressman, let me ask you that question. Also, let's not forget that here is a president who comes with a lot of baggage as well. There are a number of criminal charges against him, and these cases are currently in the court, pending trial. So what happens to those cases?
Those cases will go away. He singularly has the power
Yes.
to, remove those cases. So there will not be any meaningful litigation against him while he is the president of the United States for next 4 years. Also, remember, Supreme Court has given the verdict that as a president, his powers are substantial. So he will not have to worry about that. The question really is, he's got to deliver. He's got to make people's lives better. He got to, 4 years from today, people ought to be able to say, my family, my finances today are better than they were 4 years ago under Biden-Harris administration. And that would be his success. That would be his mandate. That would be his task. And that is his number one task. He needs to ensure that crime goes down. He needs to ensure that the borders are more protected, secure, and there is not this huge migration of undocumented migrants coming into America, going into cities like New York and Chicago.
Sure.
People saw that, and that's
Sure.
not the America people want.
Okay, Daniel, I have a question for you, because there are a number
Right.
of articles which are suggesting that the legitimacy of the president's house or the president's chair is being questioned because of the background or the baggage of Donald Trump. Do you think they will have to revisit their own assessment? Because whatever said and done, it is the choice of America. Here is a president who has won with popular vote and in the Electoral College.
So I'll say that
There's one more
lot-
question I want to add, Maria, for Daniel, before he can take both of them together. He can take both the questions together. One, of course, the one around legitimacy that you asked. The second around the fact that, Daniel, given that the way everybody has been talking about the economy, immigration, what, according to you, would be his single biggest legislation that he will pass through at the very beginning of his tenure, given how powerful he is, given how strong the mandate is, and at the same time, given how he has again and again spoken about economy and immigration, which according to you would be the first set of legislations he could pass that could set the tone for his presidency in the next 4 years? Take those two questions, please.
Sure, I'll do them in order. For the first one, there's certainly a lot to criticize Donald Trump on legitimately. And I won't recite all the things that critics have raised. I'm sure your viewers are familiar with them. I don't think that anyone can reasonably say that this victory was illegitimate in some sense, because he won the Electoral College, he won the popular vote. And my sense is most Democrats, probably almost all of them, there may be exceptions, would agree with that. And we'll see. It's up to the vice president to help certify the electoral votes. And I have complete confidence that Kamala Harris will certify her own defeat. So I think that the party will accept that this is a legitimate win. They will continue to criticize him, and his other opponents will continue to criticize him for the many pieces of baggage that he has. But I do think those two things can be decoupled. And there's not really a case to be made that this was an illegitimate victory, as much as that upsets many people. Or I should say, as much as his victory upsets many people for understandable reasons. As for what he will look to do first, again, this does come down to whether Republicans secure control of the House. If they do, one of the big things I'd see them look to do is try to make the tax cuts that Trump passed in his first term in office permanent. That's probably going to be at the top of the legislative agenda in terms of passing laws. But I do want to emphasize something else because you brought up immigration, and this is something that Trump will be able to take action on, regardless of whether he has unified control of Congress. I expect the Trump administration to be much, much more aggressive in trying to round up and deport undocumented immigrants. There's been talk of creating camps. We know he wants to deploy the National Guard in this service. Just how far he will go remains to be seen. And that may also be contingent on congressional control, because he may need more resources to do everything he says he wants to do when it comes to immigrants. But I would expect there to be roundups. I would expect there to be more deportations. I would expect a much more aggressive policy at the southern border.
Okay, so you are expecting aggressive policy with regards to immigration. Congressman Thanidar's assessment is that he will be getting into the brass tacks of economy and trying to get those concerns sorted out. So, Congressman, I'm coming to you. You know, as someone who has worked with Donald Trump and understands his mind as well, here is the president who's at 78. He's also the oldest president to be who will be sworn in 2 months from now. But he has won in a country which is full of younger demographic. So what do you think worked for the younger population? Where do you think he managed to connect with them?
I think his resilience. Here is a man that he was defeated, a sitting president who was defeated. Then there were multiple charges, lawsuits against him. Then there were 2 assassination attempts. So he almost got killed twice. All of this brought in a certain level of respect among the young people. The young people saw that as his character, someone that is never give up, never says die. He stood up, he never backed down. And I think that appealed to the young people. His ability to say the things the way they are, you know. Often you don't like how the way he says things. He talked about people eating dogs and cats, and that certainly was not true. But he highlighted the issues of migrants coming into this country, undocumented people coming into this country without having good border controls. So he talked about protecting women, whether they want it or not, which sounded horrible. But he highlighted the fact that women and people in general want less crime. They want safety across the world. So I think he was extraordinarily good in bringing out the issues. Branding is his best skills. You know, Trump brand is one of the strongest brand in the world. So he used his branding skills, and he stood firm despite all of these setbacks, and that appealed to the young people.
Okay,
That appealed to the young people.
Okay, my last question to you. Of course, you've got that assessment right, but what about the white women? We were hearing a lot of talk about reproductive rights, and that certainly has been one of the talking points in the blue states, which Kamala Harris has won. But a number of states, including Georgia, which has been won by Donald Trump, this was a talking point, but it also means that they voted against that right. So is America going back in time?
I think the abortion issue did not turn out to be as important an issue in people's mind, especially women focused more on security, safety, security, lowering the crime rates. He talked about crime, and he talked about the border security. And I think those issues played much more so than the abortion issue. So this was not a single issue, abortion with a woman president. It didn't turn out that way. What really happened was that Donald Trump appealed to the white women, appealed to the women, their need for safety, their need to lower crime, their need to stop this illegal migration at the borders. And that's where Donald Trump scored big.
All right, Congressman Thanidar, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. Daniel Block, contributing editor of Washington Monthly. That's all from me. This special broadcast continues with Vishnu Shom, who's joining you in just a bit.